all business starts with a risk. People, now if you've got lots of money and family with lots of money and they say, I'm going to give you $1 million to start a business, different story. But most people that start businesses start with taking a risk. And you just got to be willing to take that risk. And once you step out and take that risk, then you decide how you make that risk work.
So what happens when you don't want to start a business, but you're so good at what you do that you just kind of stumble into it? Well, Lori and Gil Chavez of Create did just that. I'm Toby Lyles and my esteemed son,
Maverick Lyles.
This is the Voices on the Wind podcast.
Yes. We also have our newsletter, which is votw.substack.com. That's kind of our we take interviews, but also kind of draw larger points as well and thoughts, as well as a lot of really fun stories. So if you have not checked that out, please do, and please subscribe. And this is Lori and Gil Chavez of Creator Created Create.
You didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family.
No, not
correct?
at all. I did not know.
And you had a little bit of entrepreneurism or the spirit of entrepreneurism in your family. We all have like different gradients, right? As we grow up, some more than others. So that's an interesting place to start. So what were you doing before the launch of a business? You both were employees, correct?
I didn't think about this until you said it just now, but we had a business before.
Okay.
It was a salon, hair salon. And we opened that and that was a huge leap of faith for him, but he ended up coming along, of course. But the business was so I can be home with the girls. And so he knew that. And it was for 15 years. I think it was 15 or 17 years we had it. So when this one came along, yes, we were
Not your
employees.
first rodeo.
It wasn't, but it was a different rodeo. So it was
in terms of scale, like it felt like a bigger thing. Was the salon just like in your house? Did you have property
was
with
in
that?
our house,
Okay.
yes.
Now, her and I are different very, very much because I'm a kind of a bottom line kind of guy, right? I need to see the bottom line. She's not a bottom line type person like I am. And so when she first talked about the salon, we'll start there first. I said, we actually went and visited somebody that had one in their home.
Okay.
And she was working here at a salon here in the mall. And we went to the salon. I looked around. I said, well, I mean, that's a great idea, but not for me. And so she really didn't kind of go after me about it or anything like that. We were she just kind of left it alone.
I left it up to God is what I did.
And I literally,
So you didn't lose it. It was still in your mind.
It was still in my mind because I knew I wanted to be home with my babies. And I did not like them being at a babysitter's or, I know they were school age, but still I wanted to take care of my babies.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And so we, so she didn't kind of bring it up anymore, whatever. She just kind of left it there. And I literally woke up one day and said, hey, why don't we open a salon?
Okay, so there's a little bit of business in the background. Not a little bit. That's a real business. And then
we had a friend that asked us a question that kind of put us on the path they're on right now.
Okay.
So go ahead and tell about your friend.
So when we were on staff at church for Christmas, we would give gifts to our fellow
other staff members.
Okay. And so it was always something I made. It wasn't, the whole thing was always made, but there was pieces in there made. And so one of them I had made cocoa bombs. One year, a friend of ours, she's like, will you make me some cocoa bombs? I want to give some for a gift. And she's like, oh, of course I'll pay you. And I'm like, nope, don't want to do it. And she's like, why? I'll pay you. And I says, that's exactly why. I says, but I know that I can't just do things all the time for free, because so it was a little bit of a war inside me because I'm like, well, if I do this, I'm going to have to open up a business and I don't want to do a business. I've been there, don't want to do that again, da-da-da-da. And so she's like, please just do it. And I was like, okay.
Wait, hold on. Okay, so you just said you own a business and you guys have been off business line for a little while. And then an opportunity comes to you and you do not want to have anything to do with the business.
I did not want to do it. Nope, because I love creating and I didn't want it to become a job.
I
I love what I do. I
That's
love
right.
crafting. I love baking. I love making. I love cooking. I love doing all that. A matter of fact, we've had people beg us to open up a restaurant, but I can't convince them of that.
No. I was like, no, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with where we're at right now. Really, I am.
I was like, okay, the only way I can do this is if we do get a business license and we just do it legit and we just do it very low key. I don't want anybody to know what we're doing. I don't want this to be big or nothing. And then he says, okay. He says, we can do that. So he went and he called me he was going from work to the Department of Revenue. And he's like, hey, so what are we going to call the business? And I says, what do you mean? He goes, what are we going to call the business? I'm going to get the business license. And I was like, shoot, I forgot we were doing this. And so I says, I don't know. I says, I know I've always wanted this phrase. God, my creator, created me to create. So I says, I don't know, maybe something with that. And then I'm really trying to work on a project, so I really didn't care. So I just threw out creator, created, create. Let's go with that. And so he's like, okay. We hung up, and that was the end of it.
Okay.
So then he goes and gets it, and then later on it comes in the mail. It's like, oh, okay, there it is. So now we can take the payment for the cocoa bombs.
It sounds like, Gil, you were just like, yeah, let's go get a business license for that.
I was, yeah. And so, again, because I knew that she's always been very crafty, loves to make things. So we would watch something like on TV or something like that, and it's like, hey, I want to try to make that. And I'm like, okay, like the cocoa bombs, I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, they're great to give away to friends and everything. But, you make cards and you make this and you make that. Now we were, and when I say this, we were professional garage sailers.
Yes.
Professionals, yeah. So we're buying everything, and it's funny because we'd go and it's like, hey, I need this right here. And I said, why do you need that? I don't know, maybe I'll just need it one of these days, so we're buying it. Went to a craft show, and this lady was a true definition of a hoarder. And she had so much paper products and everything else, it filled out the back of my truck. And so she's always been very crafty, and I knew that. And I knew that she would always be able to make that work. Again, we're still both on staff at the church. I'm still working a full-time job.
Again, low key.
Yeah, real low key.
I don't want anybody to know.
We think.
You haven't advertised this? You're just like,
No, we don't advertise it.
I told her, don't even tell anybody
right.
where you got it.
Mm-hmm.
But the word gets out, let me tell you, okay?
Wow.
So then we have another person, and this is kind of when we knew, and this is when I knew that this was going to be bigger than just us doing it on the side. So we had another lady that was, she's a physician, and she had our cocoa bombs, and she said, hey, would you make me some of those, so I can give to the staff and stuff like that. And at first, obviously now we're legit. So now it's like, yeah, you bet. You want me to make you something? I'll make you one, I'll make you some. And so now we're putting it into practice.
Okay.
And so she ordered 10,
Okay.
and then 20,
Wow.
and then 30 total. And I remember her telling my wife, like, you probably think I'm crazy. And I was like, no, we're not crazy. You're not crazy. We love doing it. And, hey, we'll do it. And so that just all kind of started to evolve.
So how do we feel about this moment? Is this exciting? Does it just feel like a drudgery, a task on the side? I'm guessing you're making all of these, Lori.
Yeah, no, yeah. It was fun because I didn't have a timeline. I just did them. I just did it as I wanted, and it was not a drudgery. And
is it exciting? Is it like, what if this was something, or is it just?
I don't even think at that point
I don't think we even thought about it.
We were just enjoying what we were doing.
We're still working these jobs, and then God speaks to us again, and He says, "You need to give up your positions." And Gil wanted to keep one position. I wanted to keep one of what I was doing, and we handed over the rest and said, "Okay, this is what God has called us to do." And so we did that for a year. We did the part-time stuff for a year.
But I want to just talk to that moment where the money drops.
Okay.
The scary moment of, I'm going to make that change.
Mm-hmm.
And you eventually end up starting a business.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No play money, no fun money. We had to, even for Christmas, I remember I made some gifts and I was like, well, it costs a lot less to make this gift than it does for me to go out and buy something. But that's not all true always. You know what I mean? Because crafting actually is very expensive.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot involved.
And so we already had the machine, so I was able to make the gifts. You know what I mean?
All those garage sales paid off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah.
And so that was part of it. And so we really tightened our belts.
Again, if you love what you do and you can self-motivate, you can make it work. because, you know, a lot of times what people will do is they'll sit there and wait for work to come to them, especially if you're starting a new business. You have to have that kind of that, we like to call it that bulldog mindset of, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find the work. I'm going to go out and I'm going to let people know, hey, I can do this or I can do that for you.
You have to believe in yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay, so both of you probably, I'm guessing, tell me if I'm wrong, both of you probably did some stuff in that season. Tell me, what does that hustle look like between dropping the job and going down to slim?
Yeah.
Your belt's tight and you start to hustle.
This here is a real funny one because I applied for a director's position and I was like, Lord, please don't let me get that job because I didn't want that job. I did not want it, but I would have done it because if that's what the Lord would have called me to, I would have done it. But I didn't want to do it. And I applied for several jobs, you know. I mean, it wasn't like tons and tons and tons, but I'd apply for a job here, there, or whatever, you know, that seemed like it was something I was supposed to apply for. And so when I didn't get the job, I was really glad about it. And I remember him coming home one day and he's like, so, and I'm working on a project on the computer. I can't remember which one it was. And he's like, so when are you going to get a real job? I says, well, I think this is my job. And so once we both realized what page we were on and we were both headed in the same direction is when it started to take off. And when I realized that, hey, this could be a job, but I'm in control of how much fun I let it be or how much drudgery I let it be. Because like I said earlier, I did not want to get into a business and it be something where I did not want to do because I love crafting. And I didn't want that crafting to turn into, oh, I gotta do this project, you know, a hardship or a weighing down or, you know, something like that. And I mean, I know I got deadlines. That's not what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about the overwhelming, like, oh man, I got to make one more thing, you know, or I got to do one more thing. But you can control the speed of your business. You can speed it up or you can slow it down. You're in control of that. And so when we both got on the same page, I think is when it's God doesn't give us good gifts and then let it turn into bad and it destroy us or, you know, whatever. He helps you through it all. And so when I started making things, I would just like, oh, well, I guess I need a Facebook page. So let's get a Facebook page and throw that up on there. And then I would just post almost every day of what I was doing. People want to know about your life. They want to know what you're doing, what you're making, how you're doing it. And so I literally just be either rolling something, paint on something or making a card or whatever, and I'd post it and it was like, people are like, I don't know why they want to know that, but they just want to watch. They want to watch somebody's life on a screen, I think, you know? So I posted every day and then every day we're posting, it seems like, and then it just slowly got momentum. But I remember, I think it was our second show and it was more of a kid event. We found out we do not do well at kid events.
Yeah.
Parents are there with their kids and they've got the baby bag. They got the bags that they bought with stuff for their kids, for them. They're not there to shop for what we have because we're home decor, right? Yeah. And so we found out that kid events are not for us. But we're at a kid event and it was the worst show we had so far. And I made up in my mind, we will never have a bad show again. And what I meant by that is at every show that we do or attend, we could always do something better, whether it was some small tweak, whether it was some big tweak. So can we have our name on a tablecloth? Can we present this a little bit better? Can we do our product a little bit better? So I figured it was up to us whether we had a bad show or not, whether anybody else was doing the same thing we were or not, because it was up to us. We're only in competition with ourselves and not anybody else.
So she's making stuff and then posts them online. Then people are buying them. Like, hey, I'll take that.
Just like that.
Can I have some of those cards? Can I have that? And the funniest thing, I'll tell you, the funniest story of all was during COVID, during the pandemic. She had this idea to make, it was a little round ornament that had, and I spent, I don't know how many hours rolling So we get regular toilet paper and
Real
cut them into
toilet
little
paper.
tiny strips, and we make little rolls of toilet paper, putting them in there. And then she put vinyl on that said, in case of emergency, because everybody was trying to find toilet paper, right?
Oh, yeah,
So we
yeah.
put, in case of emergency, break glass, and we put like a little metal hammer on it, and it was a Christmas ornament, right? We thought it was
so
awesome.
funny. Yeah.
We loved it. We're like, this thing is so cool. So again, post it online, and all of a sudden people are coming to our house to buy them.
Okay.
They're like, I'll take 4 of them, I'll take 5 of them, and we're just selling them left and right. And so again, it's all part of that. Hey, what's the next thing that we can do to make it work? And then one day I was watching something on YouTube or Facebook, one of them, and saw a laser cutter, and I said, hey, what do you think about a laser cutter? Again, never used them before. Now she had used software to design, with crickets and stuff like that. And I said, what do you think about getting a laser cutter? And she said, for what?
Well, see, I remember the story a little bit different.
Yeah, but
because
anyway, yeah.
I remember telling him, I don't know what a laser cutter is, but
Yeah,
I
maybe
want
that was
one.
it, yeah.
I want one because it's like a cricket on steroids.
Yeah, that's what it was,
says,
yeah.
I can do more than just cutting paper.
What's the first thing you made that sold from that thing?
So
Laser cutting.
while we're waiting for the laser to come, I thought, well, I need to know what I can at least kind of make with this thing or something. So YouTube is great, right? So just threw up YouTube and put the search for laser cutters. And then I seen this couple and I'm like, what are they making? And it was a door hanger, a door sign, that you put on the front of your door for decoration for either a holiday or season or whatever. And I was like, who's going to want to put that on their door? I really thought that. Not because it was ugly, but I mean,
Yeah, it's like,
I don't like those big fluffy wreaths and stuff like that. I don't know. I just don't like the big fluffy wreaths, but I was like, who's going to want to put that on their door? And so I just kept watching them week after week. And then when our laser come, I thought, well, I have to figure out something to make. So I might as well just randomly pick a file that they have, because they have files that you can buy or you can be part of their program and get a file, blah, blah, blah. So I downloaded one of their files and I made one, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is nice. But we didn't have a lot of paint, and we're still not making a lot of money. The business has to support itself. So I had to make money to be able to buy supplies. And so I remember we were going to the paint store, a local paint store, and I would go to their mist tints. And I remember asking him to get me primary colors, and I was mixing my colors, and thank God those days are over.
yeah, she would mix her own colors. Yeah.
Wow.
Because now we have like over 100, I think, paint now.
About
But
110 different colors of paints that we have now.
and so I'm painting this thing, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I did. It was a door sign. I can't remember the pattern of it, but then at our first craft show where we had all these door signs, I think we sold 10 of them or something like
Something
that.
like that, yeah.
And boy, I was like, okay, this is the route we're going. And
Okay.
so then we just started making more. And then I said, Lord, I can't do this. We need another person. And we were getting to the point where if I don't hire a person, then we can't grow. So that money that we're making is going to have to go for an employee. So we did. We took that leap of faith and we hired a
Big leap of
person.
faith.
But again, I'm in control, right? Because I can say, okay, I need this amount of hours. You have this amount of hours we're going to hire you for. And so you control it. You control it, even though you know you need more, but you do what you can. It's always you do what you can. We learned early on, you can only do what you can only do. And the rest just has to wait.
Yeah.
So then we hired our first employee, and that helped. And then we just kept doing that. We just kept, okay, what is the next greatest need? What's going to move us on to the next step that we need, whether it's big or small? What's going to help us get there? And so now, like I told you earlier, we have 4 part-time employees.
At some point, you had to get a brick and mortar, I'm guessing. You had to get a real space. Why did you decide to get a real space? Because you didn't have to, right?
I didn't have to, but I remember being in the shop and I said, God, I really need a place where people can come and get their stuff, or they can come and look and see and pick up, because just posting on Facebook wasn't cutting it anymore. A few months later, a friend of ours at craft shows approached me and they're like, she's like, hey, what do you think of this idea? And I says, yeah, I think that's a great idea. This friend had a kiosk here in the mall. And so she already knew the mall and she already knew the goings on and stuff like that. And so then, so we looked at a place and that was in November. And then in April, the following year, is when we opened up a place together.
The mall is a huge step. This is a
huge
real
step.
storefront. It's your time, both of your times.
I got to
Why did
admit
you
that
think
was
it was
scary.
Okay.
I got to
was
admit
scary.
that was
Okay.
scary. When I went into the office, I was like, I am scared of this one, and I told the mall managers that, but you know what, the mall worked with us.
Yeah,
They
it was-
will work
it was
with you.
great. And so it started, a minimum of 3 months, and that was my idea.
I was
Hey,
like,
let's
3
do 3
months.
months.
We're just getting
You know,
started.
let's see what happens. But we never wanted it to be just about us, because we've met so many people out at different craft shows and stuff that were just kind of where we were at. And maybe they're not in a position where they can one of them can just stop their job and do it full time. Now some of our vendors do it full time. That's what they do, but they don't have their own store. And so our idea was, hey, you know what, as we were into this, because as we were in the other spot as well, we had other vendors in there. And so this became a place of, hey, let's just try to find a place where we can open it up and other people can come in and they can maybe kind of follow the same step we did. Like, hey, I got my stuff in a store and I got a couple stores. Now maybe I can take that next step and I can do that and get my own place. Because again, it was never just about us. It was always about us helping other people thrive. And that's what we love to do.
When you have a passion, it can be easy for that to be less of a passion once once you're turning it into a business, once you're scaling it. And like then, or at least it'll feel that way. And so I liked how they took they took the steps that were needed to scale it in the right time. Like she didn't go, she's like, oh, I don't want to do it. And then she didn't go do it. There's always a time for everything. And I think, I think just realizing, there are times for things and taking the patience and realizing that making money is important, yes, but following your passions and following your time is, we've been talking to people over and over again. This is what we see. When it was their time, they stepped out. If it had come earlier, it wouldn't have worked. But when they did it in the right time, when the time they're like, this is what I want to do, they followed their passion and then it came. And they scaled it up and up and up when the time came. And I think that's just really important. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people I've had quite a handful of conversations, and I wrote a newsletter about this. I think we've talked about it on the podcast, but they, constantly saying, if I do something, if I do my passion, then I'll get burned out and I won't love my passion anymore. I just want to keep it a hobby, not a business, which is fine, if you want to do that. But it doesn't necessitate it. Like you can totally do a business. It just means put up boundaries. Like, do you feel like you're starting to get burned out? Then take a break. And Lori and Gil did that excellently. They're looking at expanding. They're getting requests right away. But they're like, as you said, timing. They're like, not quite yet. I want to love what I do. And so they just had that. The passion as the forefront, and money will come as they in the right time. So really, really appreciated that about their story. Yeah. So as you all build good things in the right timing, then I'm looking forward to seeing those. So anyways, thanks my friends, and happy sailing.
Nice.